Welcome to our Future of Fireside Chat podcast powered by InFUUSE. I'm your host, Tanyette Cologne. In our Future of podcast, we bring together an extraordinary panel of futurists, disruptors, innovators, and dreamers for an electrifying virtual roundtable discussion. Our mission is simple yet ambitious: to blueprint action items that will create a more inclusive world. We believe that even amidst chaos, there is always an opportunity to create positive change. In this podcast, we will explore the current landscape and identify key trends and challenges that are shaping the future of work, the future of business, the future of health, and our society as a whole. We will gather insights and perspectives from a diverse range of experts who can bring unique viewpoints and experiences to the table. Our goal is to use the roundtable discussion as a starting point for a larger conversation and movement towards a more inclusive and equitable world. Join us as we explore questions such as how technology can be leveraged to help humanity, what challenges are facing marginalized communities in the workplace, and how we can build more resilient and adaptable communities that can withstand the disruptions of the 21st century. By the end of this podcast, we hope to have identified specific action items and recommendations that will help us create a more just and sustainable future. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an electrifying and thought-provoking discussion with our incredible panel of experts. This is the Future of, powered by InFUUSE. Welcome to episode 3 of our Future of Fireside Chat series. I'm so excited for our guest today. I've actually had the honor of working with her on and off for several years. I can attest that today's episode is going to be full of gems for you to take with you to heart and potentially activate in your day-to-day lives. With us today, we have Billie Lue-Fung, who is a quantum co-creator. She does a lot to empower heart-centered entrepreneurs, women in leadership to really rise to their full totality. I love the way she views pillars of life, how she views human beings, and how we can, as human beings, have quantum shifts in our lives to really start fulfilling our truth being the biggest thing. So Billie, I'm so glad to have you with us today. I know we've talked about this on and off for a while. It's beautiful to see it come into the 3D.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. Thank you for the invite, and thank you. Yes, we had, didn't we, about some years ago, we were going to do this, but it didn't work out, and this has, so it's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Divine timing.
Always. So walk us through the quantum field and what it is to be a quantum creator. It's not a term people are fully familiar with, but we use the term as humans, quantum shift, all the time. Give us your point of view on what that is.
Okay. What does it mean to be a quantum creator? From my perspective, every single human on the planet has the capacity to access, download, and interpret information that is simply available to us in the, some would call it ether, some would call it ephemeral field, some would call it quantum field, spiritual field, different terminology, I guess. For me, it means just the ability to access what we've actually come here to access, and it cannot be accessed. Quantum creator, in its very definition, you cannot use your basic mind to access this information. It is absolutely impossible. And that may sound to people listening like, what do you mean you can't use your mind? Well, I use my mind. I live in my mind. My mind does things. I'm going to tell you for a fact, okay? From seeing and experiencing this realm and many other realms, but please always remember this is my experience, and everybody has to have their own. It is in your brain, your actual brain, the physicality of your brain. It does not have the capacity to take in information or to understand information. What it does, it's like a piece of computer software. The computer itself would be you. The software that you upload onto the computer makes it makes it possible for you to use the computer. However, if you stripped all the software off of the computer, you'd have this pure, simple form, which I see as you, okay? Now, when you're in your, people are going to get annoyed probably by this as well. When you're in your heart, what does that mean? How do we get in the heart? Okay, just bear with me for a minute. When the mind is on pause and no longer conducting your life and talking and, telling you what to do all the time, you're literally in your feeling state. If you're in your feeling state, you become like the World Wide Web. So you can literally take a breath. This is how I experience it. And have access to knowledge, any knowledge you choose, but it must come from the heart space primarily. And this is what I teach humans to do, to get out of their mind, literally to lose their mind and become controlled, and create lives, to lose their minds and be able to create their lives through this quantum creator nature that they have.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful, right? Because we hear a lot of people speak about heart mind coherence, but how does that actually?
Can we stop?
What happened?
Oh, it was just so, as I was going in, I literally felt my old, a bit of academic mind, it wanted to come in, and I had to juckle it and stop it from going off. And then I was listening to the people listening who were going, what the fuck are you talking about? Can we start again? Are you going to edit this?
Well, I'll start it from scratch.
Right.
It's better to just start it from scratch. That way it'll be easier for her to edit it.
All right. Can we go again?
We'll do the 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to episode 3 of the Future of Fireside Chat series. I'm excited to announce our guest today. I've actually had the pleasure of working with her one-on-one, on and off for the last few years. And I can say it created quantum shifts in my own personal life. Of course, you have to be ready for that type of journey. Today, we're going to focus on humans, beautiful humans, and how we can arrive as full spectrum humans at our highest totality in today's world. So Billie, I'm so happy to have you. I know you do a lot as a quantum creator, helping women in leadership, helping humans to really rise even in their day-to-day lives with what they do in business and get to heart. Most importantly, what is it to be, we hear about quantum shifts and quantum creation, and physicists will speak to it, but what does it mean to be a quantum creator in 2023?
What a great question. Hi, Tanya, and thank you for the invitation here. What does it mean to be a quantum creator? This very definition, I decided it was the best title I could give myself because of what I have found to be possible as a human being. Quantum creator. I can give many references to the field of quantum physics, but I think that might bore a lot of people. So I think the easiest way through this is to state that every human being has the capacity to access, interpret, experience, and use all the information in this universe. I believe it is available for every single human. However, this information is not available whilst we're living in the mind, something I call the basic mind. It is not available to the basic mind. I find that the mind likes to rewind, remember. It's like an old computer program that just regurgitates itself over and over. But you've got to remember, we have all been indoctrinated into this. We have all been systemized. We're all living people are listening, maybe living in a Western world whereby this is how we have been instructed to live and work and speak through the mind. For it to be possible to go into your quantum creator nature, the very first thing one must do is first understand how your mind is working, how it is interpreting, dictating, reminding, rewinding all day long. It takes a lot of courage for you to even say, okay, you know what? I'm going to look at this. Because you've got to remember, we've got our personalities, we've got our ego, we've got our things, we've got our sense of entitlement in different things. We don't always want to really face the mirror because I find that, once you go through the shame or embarrassment of facing the mirror and seeing what your mind and you have created, I mean, it's painful. I spend time talking to clients when they create a connect call and saying, kind of talking them out of it to see if they're ready. Because the more ego, the more you're attached to your mind and what you know and what you think, the more painful it will be to face yourself. However, as a quantum creator, the rewards of going into your quantum creator nature are so profound, but it's like anything. It's an investment long term. So you're not going to see short term results. Everything on the planet is selling you short term results. Do this, do this, do this trick, do this. It's like one trick ponies. Try this, try this, try this, try dream therapy, try this therapy. Look at your inner child. Look at this, and it's all very nice at a level for you experiencing and opening up to new things. But if you really want to know and own your power as a superhuman quantum creator that you are, you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror, really look at yourself in the mirror and begin there. Once you have dismantled all the falsehoods, all the bullshit, you don't need 10 years on the psychotherapy couch. Trust me, you don't. But once you start dismantling all the falsehoods, you start to feel again. And once you start to feel, you become much clearer on what it is you want, who you are. And these are I feel like humans are the most fascinating people on the universe. You yourself will be anyone listening, the most fascinating, anybody listening, you are the most fascinating person on the universe if you're interested in knowing who you are.
Yeah. And how does someone shift from the mind ownership to going into, Dr. Greg Braden talks about it all the time, and you do too, this heart, what the heart leads. So it's the heart mind coherence, less about the mind being at the wheel. And that's one of the teachings I've always remembered. If the mind is sitting in the executive CEO chair, you're perpetuating the same, sort of the same storylines that keep, to your point, that keep people stuck. How can someone start really being, I know awareness is the best friend, but going to heart, and how do they know that they're there? And then also too, how do you feel in a world that is painful to current, or, the view would be it's painful to be a feelings person in the current world we live in now. I asked a lot of questions in one.
No, it's beautiful. And I heard every one of them. Thank you, Tanya. So I was a former brain person. I started off as a heart person. Then I went into brain. I put all of my power and all of my energy into my brain, into knowing this, knowing that, knowing the facts, knowing figures, always being right, always having the right words. I thought I was a genius. I was told I was a genius. I was told I was brilliant because my mind was running the show. However, I couldn't feel anything inside. I was completely cut off from my feeling body. For whatever reason, that's where I lived. So I understand the questions you've just asked, because I wouldn't even be able to comprehend such a question in that state and that time. Right. The closest I got is somebody buying me a book of Zen and me thinking, what a load of crap this is, or a book of peace, or going on a retreat. And my mind would say, what a load of crap, what a load of rubbish. Don't listen to this. This is nonsense. Do what you're doing, study what you're studying. You're going to be a great psychotherapist. Keep going this way. And that's who I listened to all of the time. Whilst alone in the quietness of my own home, in my own bed, I would cry. And I didn't know why I was crying, but it was just this sense of, is this life? Is this really, really life? So where do you begin? I teach people where to begin only based on my own experience. I've not learned anything outside of myself when it comes to training your mind, losing your mind, and living in your heart. So the very first place I start is, again, as I said, it's a part of the program. It's called review. So we need to review where you are in your life. And this is where you get very, very honest. Review where you are, review how you got there, and then review what you want. Do you know something, Tanya? I haven't met one single person in 10 plus years who's able to actually put down the future life design clearly. And you know why that is? Because the mind is forever in the past. It doesn't like the future, and it hates the present. It's terrified of the future. Sorry, it's always in the past, never in the present, terrified of the future. So that's where we've got to start. So you can imagine the emotions already when a human's like, oh God, okay, where do I start? I don't know what my future is. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. What you will see turn up is blame, upset, victimhood. This is where the mind lives. Then we look at something called the character analysis. And I love this because character analysis for me is it's all the defense systems that we've created along our journey of life. We've become all these different people and compartmentalized ourselves. And we believe it's us. And sadly, a lot of women on the planet, they go to the doctor, they get Prozac, they get medication, they're told they're depressed. And I believe all that needs to happen is for them to have a loving awareness that these are just aspects of the personality that have been trying to live in a crazy world. To answer your question about the environment seems strange. Well, we've had to adapt to a human world whereby we have man-made laws that nobody really follows. We have allowed man-made laws to be more important than heart-based laws. We are told to speak the truth. We live in a world of lies. We are told to do the right thing, and we see things just not so right around us. Of course, we have to create some kind of mask. Of course, we have to go live in our minds. Of course, it's the most comfortable place. And if we don't, we're called strange, peculiar, odd. So I saw something really cool yesterday. It said, it's better to be a lion alone than one in a flock of sheep.
It's a beautiful expression. And when we think about the seasons of the world, the earth, some would say we're in the season of spring or the season of potential change of paradigms that have for far too long have been serving. Oh, shoot. It fell off. Hi.
It went off, hun.
That's okay. I think that's fine, actually. We can go to the next question.
Yeah. And maybe she can cut stuff. So if I pause in the middle, it's easier to edit.
Yeah, no, and the first part was actually that this chunk right now is really good. I just forgot. What was your last statement there? Oh, it was just going to
The lion. It's better to
yeah.
be a lion alone than a part of sheep.
Yeah, so I'll just pick it up I'll do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I know to bring her to this. I'll just tell her to bridge here.
Yeah, and if I'm rattling on too much,
No. It was actually quite powerful.
do you know what distracts me? The visual, because I can see you. So normally with Tyrrell, she'd like, I want the visual, I want the visual. I'm like, but if I see you, I'm picking up your whole life, and then talking and downloading, so that if I look down or away, if that's okay, and if I'm talking too much, if we don't use this video and you can do things like that, then I can, or
yeah, no, I thought the points were really strong, and it leads us into, I want to lead us into the season we're in now, right? As Earth is in the season of spring, awakening, opportunity to change. So anyway, I'll just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll go.
Can I ask you back a question?
Yeah.
Thank you. Otherwise it's weird. I know it's an interview, but it's nice to hear your perspective.
No, I think it'll be fun. So I'll do 5, 4.
Gotcha.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I love that analogy that you just gave, because it moves us into this next season, and people have different perspectives on this. So someone I was watching an interview yesterday, he was saying that this is a season of spring, and that spring the Earth version of spring is a longer season. That could be 5,000 plus years. So there's an awakening happening here on Earth where more human souls are awakening to their truth, more open to having these types of discussion. Greg Braden speaks to it as this is the first time we're going through these experiences as a technologically advanced society. And that's why we're seeing paradigms, much like nature, die that really have existed for hundreds of years for just a select few of humans, and the rest of us have been living in this illusion of scarcity, which I do want to talk about because that shows up a lot for women, shows up a lot for entrepreneurs. We're building stuff with scarcity and illusion of separation in mind. I was curious with a lot of the women that you have coached, and even some men, not coached, but actually helped to co-create with. What have you noticed are common denominators with building from that space of scarcity?
Well, first of all, as I just mentioned, the very first part with the life design blueprints, you can see scarcity in the language that we use. I'm going to say we, because I used to live there.
Yeah.
Our clients are the people that we were before, our best clients anyway. They're the people that we were, so we can really understand them completely to such a degree. In the language that is used, internally, there appears to be a separation between their own truth, something they know, something it's like a whisper that's been around for a very, very long time. They want to follow it, but they look outside. They've got the kids, the house, the mortgage, the dog, the cat, the job. And then there's that conformity. Just keep going, just keep going. Something will change, something will change. So I feel like the scarcity itself comes from the human at an individual and a collective level. At the individual level, there is this sense that, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. Can I do this? Oh, it's not for me. I've heard things like, oh, but your clients, they look so capable and they're entrepreneurs. And can I do something like that? And then you've got the collective scarcity. If you're listening to the news or radio and I guess it's okay to, I haven't for 21 years, but I understand why people keep up with the news, but listening to it without understanding what it's doing to you and what it's about brings you into another sense of scarcity, which isn't real. Quantum creators know this. This is not real. These are illusions of the world. They're just illusions. And I just get so passionate about this because you are the change maker, the dream maker, the quantum creator. Your very nature is to create. Look at the word imagine. I'm a genie. You are a total creator. So the scarcity, first and foremost, it's yours.
Yeah. And that's the powerful part of it, right? And then the engines that be help to perpetuate. And I love that quote that you have. It's on your website that you basically are the change. You want to see the outside world change around you. It's an inside job first and foremost. I know we've talked about Dharma before, what life purpose is. And then we had this conversation recently where it was like, what if it was just about love? And we know that is the journey, but what if it was just about meeting your person and co-creating in life together? What if it was simple as that? I think as humans, we want to attach something, like put all these different, we're going to do these quantum shifts and help in this paradigm and crumble that. But what if it was simple as just love? And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I thought that was profound in its simplicity. And most things are simple. We just overcomplicate it as humans.
I think it was probably so simple that I don't even remember where it was or when it was. I used to have a wonderful client, and she used to say, hold on a minute, and she'd write down these things that came out. And I said, what did I say? And the other day, literally, not the other day, a few weeks back, I thought, I need to contact her and ask if she's got a list of those amazing downloads, because I don't remember them. They clearly weren't mine. The question was, what is it? What if it was all about love? Well, this is the thing, isn't it? For me, okay, what it is, there is something I've titled LOVE, Laws of Vibrational Energy. There are many, many laws on this planet of vibrational energy. There are thousands of them. You can just go onto a website. I think there's even a website which will display many of them to you. And all of these laws of vibrational energy, they're not called laws of vibrational energy, by the way. They're called, I think, the laws of one. Every single one of them has been created, not by a man or a woman or a person, we don't know by whom, have been created so that we can hold complete alignment with our external world. However, when you are locked in mind, old mind, basic mind zone, the laws, as I said earlier, that we're listening to is something very, very different that internally don't resonate. Remember when you were a child, Tanya, and you asked a question and you knew before they answered, they were going to lie to you. They didn't know, or they were going to pretend to know. So you already I am talking about love here. You already have this internal system which allows you to decide to understand that the difference between truth, lie, good, bad. Remember as a child, I remember going into my grandma's purse, opening it up very slowly, very sneakily, because I knew what I was doing was called stealing. But I still went in and I took out the coin and I closed the purse, and it was all very sneaky. And there was this air around me of, ooh, fear, sneakiness. So when you're a child, this is amplified, right? But when we grow up, we seem to replace love, compassion, understanding with mind. I feel it's as clear as that, with mind, with illusion, with ego, with me. Nothing wrong with taking care of you. That's the most important thing to do. But to replace this essence, this feeling of true knowing with information that's being given to you because you didn't come into the universe with it, feels like just a complete oxymoron. It's really, really strange. You know, it's like fucking for virginity, fighting peace. It's completely strange. So I do believe it is all love, but again, we need also the practical sense, because I've been in atmospheres and places where people are all about love and we're floating and we're just dancing. And I'm really not one of those. I tried to be for about 2 seconds. I can't be. It's really beautiful and I understand how the quantum world works, but I'm kind of I'm really more practical. I'm like, okay, open our hearts. How do we do this? Here is the practical application of how. Lose our minds. How do we do this? Here is the practical application of how, you know? Change our relationships. How do we do it? We don't just sit there and do some wishful thinking. We actually have to have a practical application, and it starts with us. So it's love.
Yeah, and I love that because it's getting clear on the ask, which I can attest being, I don't want to make it a gender thing, but sometimes I find it's more difficult, even in meditations, to get clear on what is the design, what is the clear ask, not the one that's wavering, not the 5 or 10 choices that may exist. What is the one clear ask of this design, which is why I love your program so much, because it really does allow someone to go into awareness, to not judge it, but to really see and to get clear on what is that design, like the details, like what is it at its core, which is so important to manifest it in.
Let me tell you something very interesting. Because the new Success to Mastery program, it will be coming out in September, I said to my husband, let's do the life designs. Let's do them. I need a refresh. Let's have a look. Let's do them. We spent 5 hours on a Sunday, or I think it was a Sunday, yeah. We spent 5 hours on our own life design. And it was 5 hours because I made both of us do it, look at the current, look at how we created it, look at the future, and then review it and clarify and divide and define. And he is a man and he's usually quite straight to it's like this. But he found that the more time we actually spent defining and clarifying, it brought up so many layers, and it made me understand a little bit of a new way to teach that in September, and what people go through, because we often very too quickly just write down, I want this, I want that, I want that, you know, and that really isn't, if we ask deeper, if we go deeper in ourselves and check, is it really what we want? And you talked about Dharma there, Tanya. Is what we're writing down in our future life design aligned with our Dharma? You know, maybe you have a greatest gift to create money and help people with finance and business, and you're saying, oh, I'm going to stay home and be a mom. But that isn't aligned with the Dharma, and you can do that, but there's also, you must use your skills, you must use these abilities. For me, that's where Dharma is. We've all been given a set of incredible abilities, and thank goodness they're all different. Thank goodness. Yeah, goodness, there's not more of me, around. It's like, oh, I just need variations of humans. And we often go the opposite way. And so we get kind of lost, don't we, down the road, doing something that just doesn't make our hearts sing.
And I love the idea of the reset or the re-looking at the pillars. Your programs, it breaks down the 9 pillars of life, isn't it 9? The 9
Yeah,
pillars,
9 life areas.
the
Yeah.
9 life areas, because you could be doing incredible in 7 of them, but if there's the other 2 will bleed into the ones. Then
Yeah.
that was one big learning that I took away from it, is that they could all mostly be on point, but if there's one little area that has a teeny bit of a fracture, rest assured that will show up in the other life areas.
And that's an interesting thing, because you've experienced this. The very core, which is why it's in the center, is the relationship with ourselves. Now, some people, I've actually heard people say, oh, well, once I've sorted this and it's all like this, I can have this. It doesn't work like that. That's another mind, F-U-C-K. Sorry, I love that word. I hope I'm allowed to use it here. If not, we'll cut it out. But it's another mind, boop, because, or, oh, I'll do that work when I've studied. This is something else. Sorry, I've got to divert here. I watch it year after year after year. I assist fantastic humans. They're completely clear. They're going in their direction. Everything is, they just have to hold and keep going in the direction. But what happens? The old mind pops back in and it goes, oh yeah, but I'm actually really good at that. I'm really good at this. And it goes back to the job. It goes back to doing something else. Then there's another certificate. They're learning this, they're learning that, they're learning this. And all we're really doing is avoiding what we're here to do. You're not going to be in the perfect place at the perfect time to do what it is you got to do. I used to sit on the floor at people's feet, getting 30 pounds, delivering the contents of the universe. But that's where I needed to be at that time. I had other kinds of things to learn. My abilities were profound, but didn't matter. I didn't have a home. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a clue, didn't have any direction. I was 42, I had to start all over again, but that was my learning. I had to build a very strong foundation. And that for me was sitting on the floor. So people listening, don't wait till there's some perfect time, the next course, next lesson, the next, if you're really serious and you really want shift, it has to start internally. It will not happen externally. There's no plasters here, or band-aids, as you call them in the States. There's a couple of band-aids, but even those you got to eventually take off.
Yeah, they're temporary. And I love this conversation because this one is definitely subtle, right? Even when you've done the program, you're in your awareness. There is this little thing, to your point, of holding that space, because I can say that I could potentially be there now. And there's a subtle something in there that wants to distract, whether it's give first, distract in 20 projects, because there's a part of you still, a teeny little seed that might be in fear or in the past, even when you're convinced you're fully in Dharma. And I think that's when it'll come up. It's like when you're ready to go to that precipice, like you're on the precipice and it's jumping into the feather bed. That is the unknown, that Jason Silva loves to talk about that. And then there's just that one little seed that wants to sabotage you taking that leap. And it's hard to actually identify when you're further down that journey, I feel like.
And could it be, you just mentioned a metaphor of jumping into a feathered bed from the precipice. Could it be the reason one gets so distracted is because, again, it's looking for a short-term fix. So there is a silence, there is a space between the desired outcome and future in any of your life designs and the reality of you seeing it down here in third dimension. And as I said, when we're in a world that has been teaching us quick fix, get this, get that, get rich quick, get happy quick, get this quick, get sex quick, get whatever quick, it doesn't, that silent, quiet space is where the old characters come in. The mind programs. Oh, can you really do this? Are you sure you can do this? I don't know if you can do it. Is it really worth it? Oh, is anybody coming? No one's going to buy a program. No one's going to do that. Oh, don't be silly. You can't do it on your own. You should stay in your job. And on it goes. And in that very moment, you have a choice to hold your ground or to fall down. And I feel, in a way, the feather bed analogy, and maybe that's what he's referring to, is going back to the feathered bed where it's comfy and soft, and not laying at the precipice on that icy rock with the wind howling and the wind howling and the ice beating, the snow beating down on you, because, oh no, I can't stay another night, but it's just a few meters away.
Yeah.
And maybe also, do we want it enough? I used to always I stopped telling this story because I was like, everybody must have heard this so many times. And it's the story of walking along the beach, two people walking along, and one woman comes up to the other and she says, oh, wow, I love everything that you have, the way you walk, the way you talk. You seem so confident, da, 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 da. And the lady says, okay, you want to have what I have? And she says, yeah. And she was a he, it was a he story then, that's going to be a she. She says, well, come and walk into the sea with me. Oh, sure, no problem. They walk into sea together. And she says, now put your head under the water. And she says, put my head under water? What's wrong with you? This sounds stupid. I don't want to put my head underwater. Well, how much do you want? You know what I have? Okay, I'll put my head under the water. So she finally puts her head under the water and comes up, and she presses the head down under the water. And when she releases the woman's head, the woman starts screaming, what's wrong with you? What have you done? Are you stupid? Are you trying to kill me? I'm going to call the police. And on it goes. And the lady says, you said you wanted what I had. Yes, I did, but I didn't expect to drown me. And she says, well, to want what I have, you have to want it as much as you just wanted air.
Wow.
And remember, anybody listening here, I know that in there somewhere, forget the mind, forget the bullshit that it's telling you, deep down in there somewhere, there are things you want as much as you want air. You just haven't been giving them time and attention. But it's possible. It's all possible.
And that's why I think pausing is such a beautiful gift that we can give ourselves as humans, because pause is that space of creation, to listen, to quiet, to get more into that feminine, energetic space that allows us to get the downloads that we need to see what is actually possible, instead of being in just the masculine of what society, even though it is shifting, but still bends that way, that there's only value in the doing. And there's actually a lot of value in the pausing and giving yourself that space in between to see what is possible. I kind of wanted to switch gears. I lost my uncle recently, and it was the first time. He was very much a huge, almost like a father figure, uncle figure for my adult life. And it was the first time I had experience being at the bedside of someone I loved deeply as they were taking their final breath. It was actually something, as a human, I didn't know if I had the capacity to actually do, but in experiencing that, I experienced in a way that transcends words. I'm not going to be able to do it justice, what unconditional love looks like at this highest divine level that transcends words. And I know when you were in your 30s, you were a bereavement facilitator, but also as well, you had 4 experiences where you did meet death. So I wanted to kind of shift it there, because I think Western culture, it does not have a relationship at all with grief. And I know you speak to this, and it was another takeaway from our time together, that, as humans, we experience many, many deaths, hundreds of them on a daily, weekly, yearly basis. And not all of it is actual, like, physical transitioning over. And Western culture has a really sort of separate relationship, where Indigenous cultures, it's a celebration of the circle of life. So I kind of wanted to delve into that a little bit, as to, what lessons have you learned from those experiences, and what people can take away from death, which I think is a great master teacher and a fuel and amplifier for how we can live life to the fullest as well.
Well, firstly, how beautiful that you got to experience the transition not beautiful that you have lost a very dear member of your family, but to experience the transition, and that what you said you couldn't really, put into words, or words wouldn't do it justice. That is as close as you will get. It's I would say, for anyone that's struggling, it's a kind of surrender. But that feeling that you experienced, Tanya, I would say that is peace. That is absolute peace. The heart is just completely immersed in that moment. There's no mind, is there? There's no talk. There's no worrying about the bills of this or the cat or the dog. It's just this peace. And that is my experience of what happens when we leave our body. Absolute peace, but only if we surrender. Here's the caveat, guys. So having been raised by a lady who would have been described as an older lady back then, in the 70s, she was 56. I was surrounded by elderly people who'd been through the First World War. So I saw a lot of them leaving, and I'd go and spend time with them and talk with them. And then one day they wouldn't be there. So I kind of had this sense of, okay, once they're here and now they're gone. So I feel like very early it was okay to be here, not to be here. I didn't get this sense of a worry around death. And personally, the first death I experienced was just getting a letter that my grandma had died after leaving her. And I remember just sort of crying and holding in this emotion. And that was it, really. So up to there, I didn't really have anybody that left. But I've got an Northern Irish mother. So I think a very instilled DNA, healthy understanding of wake. Even now, I'm like, I want you to celebrate. I want you to laugh. I want you to joke. I want you to throw the ashes wherever. My mother always said, just burn me and put the ashes in the garden. And she meant it. She wasn't joking. She really did mean it. So she had this sense that we're alive, we're here, we're now. Let's just party. Let's just party. Let's just get on with it. Personally, on my experience of death, I had that sense of, once I surrendered, the first profound one was I was in water in the Seychelles where I used to live, and I got caught in a riptide while friends were sitting on the beach. And I really was drowning, and I'm not the best swimmer. And I was looking at them for help, but they thought I was just doing some fun acrobats in the water. And then there's always a point before these, I call them the greatest experiences. If you get to experience close death, I think you really know how to live. There's a point where you just know, this is it, you're done. And you just surrender. It's an internal surrender. You're just like, okay, I give in. I gave in fighting that water. And with that, I floated to the top without my bikini on, completely naked, angry and wondering why nobody was trying to rescue me as I was drowning. And they just said, I didn't know you were drowning, sorry, and carried on drinking. But that was my first, I was 23 at the time. That was my first experience. And all the other experiences too, there was a state of surrender. But what I learned in those 4 times of almost dying was I was ready to go. Not at 23 such, but I could be ready to go at any moment. And I say to humans, if you're ready to go at any moment, your life is beautiful. You're living a really good life. And surely as a human, don't you want to be ready to go? Don't you want to be ready to surrender and move into that great peace without sort of, trying to grab on to life only because the mind is frightened? It is such a beautiful thing. It doesn't mean that you should go. I mean, live here and stay here as long as you want to. Be here alive. But are we really alive if we are living a life dictated by our mind and our ego and our misery and our money and are we really alive if every single thought takes us further and further away from who we really are? Are we really alive? I said to my husband, he wants to be here till 90. And I said, well, honey, I've been shown I can leave at 57, which is in 3 years. And he goes on, you should stay, we should be together. So I kind of asked if I could have her, we don't know yet, I might go at 57, but I asked if I could stay a bit longer, but more for him. because it's been an incredible life. Every pain, every hurt, every disaster, every piece of nonsense, it's been incredible to be really incredible. So death, what we can learn from it is how to live.
Yeah, I know. And that I get goosebumps because it reminds me of a quote that speaks to exactly what you were talking about, that people who are living truly life at full spectrum aren't afraid of death. And if you are, there's a part of you not in your full expression,
Yeah.
still here on earth. There's that internal battle going. And I always found peace in that quote, because it was something to look at within myself and say, if I'm full spectrum, I'm going with no regrets, right? I'm going to look at the symphony of my life and say that was a good ride, or that was a beautiful piece. But I think it's important to like face it, and do ceremony around it with loved ones. I think it's the single most, having walked away from this experience with my uncle, I think it's the single most, if you can make it right in time in those experiences, is the single most honorable, loving thing you can do for someone you truly love, is to be by their side and surrender and letting them go as well, and letting them know it's okay, that we're going to be fine, and that they're loved, and the music, and just being in that heart space. I mean, miracles happen right in front of you. The closest words I could put to it is what people reflect on what Christ consciousness would look like. It's that over outpouring of love and chills and appreciation and gratitude and everything in between. So I'm forever changed from it. I'm still processing all of it, but it's hard not to be changed by an experience like that.
Absolutely. It's profound. And what does that say about that wonderful family member who was able to move so peacefully and able to have people around him, draw people who wants to be around him? That is quite incredible at a soul level. Really is. And from having seen the other side and speak to the other side and all kinds of things, there's just a message I want to give people here as well, because very few people get this. And I don't know, I've ever heard anyone speaking about it. But in my experience of mothers who have lost children, people that have lost people near and dear through, I have experienced mothers losing children through suicide, mothers losing children through murder. And the people stuck down here, it's a terrible thing to experience, of course. You know, it's just impossible to comprehend through the mind. But for the souls I connected with who are over the other side, they're having a bloody good time. Okay, I mean, an absolute superb time. And that is very hard. I remember this particular reading, to relay that information to somebody sitting down here feeling their loss. They also gave me some messages to share with all humans, and that was that their whole enactment of life and death was a profound experience to assist their own family, to assist their family to go through certain aspects that they were continuing not to face. They had a veil. And it was even in death. And one of them was quite frustrated because he was like, and even now they're not getting it. He was smiling and he was snowboarding. He's like, even now his sister got it, but the rest of the family were just not getting it. So he had tried to be of service through this act of the illusion of death. We don't die, guys. We just transform. It's another cool journey. He was trying to help. So a lot of people that pass at different times, we put this thing on it. It's too early. It's this. It's this. It's this. I have found also that it is our own grief. It is our own feelings that we go through when we are grieving. And this is why part of the Success to Mastery is the grieving process, release of grief. I do, because carrying grief can create humans that are in great struggle and hurt other humans very much.
Yeah, because it's the internal pain. And Martin Prechtel, who does a lot of writing with Indigenous culture in mind, because he comes from it, he talks about, in The Smell of Rain on Dust, he talks about expressing grief out loud, because those cultures, it's a celebration. and they're surrounding the people in grief in a community setting. So it is expressed out loud because grief and love live in the same, basically the same house, but to carry that internally with no expression.
And then in the end, you can hear that it always comes back to us, the one, the I, the person again, because people grieve in different ways or don't grieve at all. In the indigenous culture as well, the Aborigines, they will never go to sleep into dream world if there has been an argument that has not been resolved.
Wow.
They will stay up by the fire until it's been resolved, meaning until the harmony has been replaced between the hearts of each person. And then they're all allowed to sleep. So we do live in a Western world. We do the best we can with what we've been given and what we know. But today in 2023, in this evolution of consciousness, we have information at our fingertips. We can access it. We can read about it. We can listen. Do your best if you're struggling, if things are difficult, if things are hard. Do your best, as I had to do. I personally, my ego was so profoundly outrageous. It dictated everything. It dictated every life area that I remember dropping to my knees so many times, literally asking for something more than me to help me. And I didn't have external things. I had some, luckily, I got to connect with that 6-year-old thing again. The energy, the universe. I was given information, and finally I surrendered and I listened. But I went through internal things and faced myself, and it was ugly. It was very ugly. So if you're really struggling, you're in the mind, you're in the ego, you think everything is wrong and nothing's going to work, we know it's tough to live there, but I want you to know that there is a way out. Just move and start to gravitate a little by little towards, listen to people that have been on the journey, listen to people that inspire you with a new story. That helped me. I listened to people's hardships. When I broke my leg once, I was there miserable and feeling sorry for myself for about a week. And then I started to watch YouTube videos of people that didn't have any legs. And then I got some perspective of people that had broken the legs and still walking on broken legs. Then I got perspective. I would always find a way to move out of my own misery somehow. It just took a long ass time. And I've created something so it doesn't have to take you so long. It really doesn't. You don't have to forever stay in that mind.
Yeah, it's an exhausting place to operate from. And as we close out this episode, which I feel is full of a lot of beautiful wisdom gems, I wanted to talk about or close it out with the thought of, because I know you went on your journey and visited all over the world and rebuilt at 42 years old and met the love of your life, and you're with him now. What are, as people are looking and dreaming into their future or putting huge amount of energetic intention into their future life design, what are some of the things ancient civilizations have taught us, or what are some gems that we can bring into this future that is also bridged by technology? So information is moving at the speed of light, but there's still this foundational ancient civilization wisdom that we can also bring into our future design as well.
What I've seen from living in 15 countries and it's now 47, and living for me was always like 3 months minimum when I had to integrate myself within the space with the people. So it was always a 3-month minimum, and often years. It was you'll hear this from monks, from Buddhists as well, but I've seen it as a reality. People of the land live in present state. They're very present in every second, in every moment, just where my brain is now. It's not on, it doesn't speak. What it does sometimes, I have what they call characters. So I've got a couple of old ones. They show me pictures because they know there's no talking happening in my brain. So they'll show me a picture that will distract me. It might be of an ice cream. It might be of a cheese sandwich, and that often gets me. Sometimes I get it, but it still often gets me. That's my own little devils. But the point is, being present is like a child. If you sit and look at a child or talk to a child up until they're about 7, ask them a question. You just watch. If they haven't been too already, brain locked down, they usually look up at the sky or they look down on the ground and they come up with a profound answer at that moment that's their answer of their origin. And in that state of quiet, you don't have to sit on the yoga mat, go to the retreat, sit on the mountains. Trust me, you don't. This is another thing that kind of frustrates me. Sorry to go diverse a little bit, Tanya, but I got to get this across. I too became the yoga teacher. I tried desperately to quieten my mind in many ways for years initially, only to find out it was my mind's tricks. It was tricking me the whole time. It was actually telling me just to do more things, yeah? Success to Mastery is about life is your canvas. You start to become aware and in charge of your mind through your daily actions with the kids, with the husband, with the person screaming at you at work. This is where you learn in your life canvas. You don't go off to the hill and for 2 weeks and then come back to life and want to escape it again. We create a life. The idea is to create a life that you don't want to escape. Okay, so that is going to need presence. But again, to be present, as you know, Tanya, you've been through it, right? There's got to be an awareness of something more. And that feeling always comes from the heart space. There's that little person in you that goes, you know what? I just remember laughing, having fun, having no sense of time. It was all good. What happened? Don't beat yourself up then about what happened, but just know that is you. That's your core. That's your essence. You are a quantum creator by nature. And I will live, breathe, and die on this planet getting that information across.
No, I love this because I've had some of those moments recently where I lost track of time. I'm caught up looking at the different Scandinavian night sky hues. I'm then dancing with the neighbor, like, just in the zone, just because you're in the moment. And it's that innocence and that going back to inner child and the playing in nature kind of thing. And how wondrous would it be if we could do that more often, which is always the challenge of being a human is that. But you're right. A lot of those ancient civilizations, they live, breathe the now. They're literally, every moment is ceremony for them.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Can I just ask a quick question? In those moments you just mentioned and remembering the moments before, those are those moments where you either get downloads in those moments or later something pops up. You are wondering about something and the answer pops up. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful, but there needs to be, it doesn't have to be like it is silence, but some pleasure, moving, dancing, take a drink, sit by the fire and just relax. Let everything relax, because otherwise it's your mind, as it was mine, telling us, oh, you should relax. Oh, you should have a green drink. Oh, you need to go on this retreat. Oh, you should go for a hike. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. The things that you desire doing come from a feeling as opposed from your mind saying, come on, let's get up early. You've got to take the kids to school. That's a command.
Yeah, you'll know when you're in that space because your feeling body is actually activated. Like you're getting goosebumps just looking at the sky. You're not looking at your phone. You're entrenched in conversations that it goes from 8 p.m. to midnight in a flash. You're like, where did the time go? But you were literally in the flow state of the now, which is why I like being in Norway quite a bit because of the nature. But to your point, you can do that in your backyard.
Mm. And to your point, can I say, what a beautiful being you are. What an absolute privilege and honor. Makes me want to cry a little bit. I will try not to have co-created with you. I love how articulate and expressive and compassionate you are in all that you do.
Thank you so much for that. And for anyone listening in, we're going to be putting in the show notes how to reach out to Billie. We'll have information on her upcoming Success to Mastery program that's launching in September. And we hope that you take away some actionable insights so that you can start playing within your heart and start dreaming into your future life design today. So thank you guys. Thank you for tuning into this podcast episode where we strive to create positive change and blueprint action items for that more inclusive world. We hope you're leaving us with heart full, with your heart energy ready to become a change agent in the world, that you're inspired to believe that the impossible is possible. We hope you enjoyed our discussion with our extraordinary panelists of futurists, disruptors, innovators, and dreamers. If you want to learn more about our mission at the Future of, as well as InFUUSE, you can stay up to date on future episodes and join our community. In the show notes, you can sign up for a newsletter. If you want to follow my journey, feel free to find me on Instagram under @Tanyette. That's TANYETTE. You can find me on LinkedIn @Tanyette Cologne. And also you can follow InFUUSE on LinkedIn as well, InFUUSE.com. Of course, I want to hear about your journey and stories as well. So feel free to send me an email at Tanyette@IN-FUUSE.com. I would love to highlight how some of the change agents and the things that you're learning with us are translating into your day-to-day life. Stay blessed. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you at our next virtual roundtable discussion. Ciao. Con mucho amor. Bye.